This year has been an absolutely crazy year for the channel. I've gone from about 1,000 subs all the way up to 12 or so thousand. I've got 2 extra channels, the podcast channel. I've had some absolutely crazy guests on like DistroTube. On the gaming channel, I'm probably going to start streaming on Twitch soon. I've got some stuff for, having guests appear on that as well. And because the year is basically about to end, I thought, why don't I talk about what my plans are for the next coming year? Because I don't just want to see my content stagnate, I want to see it constantly keep improving. Before we get into the individual channels, I just want to talk about some general updates I want to make. So, I do have the camera, I've had it for like a month or so. Right now, though, I'm still using the C920, and that's because I've been waiting on this right here. This is one part of it, the other part's already mounted to my desk. This is basically going to be an arm that sits across my desk that I can, mount my camera on, because I couldn't actually find anything that would work perfectly for it, so I got my stepdad to make something up for me. Basically, all I'm waiting for the camera now is the dummy battery, so I can actually plug it into the wall, rather than relying on batteries that I'll have to change every, 2 or 3 hours. And I was also waiting on the stand. And now that this is here, it's just waiting on that last thing, which should be here around the start of next month. So hopefully you're going to see that very soon. It'll be mounted in basically the same spot, but it will look considerably better. The other thing is with my audio gear. So I'm still using the Blue Yeti, and that's because every time I get around to actually ordering the Yamaha MG10XU and the Audio-Technica AT2035, it's out of stock. So I probably should just go and back order it and then just wait for it to show up. But that will be happening very soon. So maybe in January, February, this mic will finally be retired. Now onto the main channel. So with the thumbnails, you might have noticed very recently that I've had a few extra Hawaiian shirts that I'm using. So the original ones I had, the black floral one and the red one, I bought those way before I started my channel and just wanted to wear them as Hawaiian shirts. But when I put them in one of my thumbnails, I thought it was actually a good idea and just kept doing it. So recently I bought, I think 5 or 6 more. They were $20 each. They'll pay themselves off eventually though. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, one, I want to diversify the colors that actually appear in my thumbnails. And the reason why I'm wearing them just at all is because having something brightly colored in your thumbnail makes it more enticing for people to click on. I don't know the science behind it, but that's basically how that works. And tell me another tech channel that wears Hawaiian shirts in their thumbnails. It's just something else that will make the channel stand out just that tad little bit more. Now, just showing your face in a thumbnail, even with a Hawaiian shirt on, is fairly boring. So I've been using a lot of props recently, I don't know, here's a Pepsi bottle. And just using stuff like that makes it stand out a bit more, because you can be a bit more, dynamic and a bit more flashy by actually having something you're trying to show off to people, rather than just being oh wow, there's only so many faces you can make that look interesting. But when you just start grabbing random things, it gives you a bit more range to actually work with. I am kind of a fan of the format the thumbnails are in right now, but there will still be minor tweaks being made, like text size. Maybe I'll change the font, messing around with blur and outlines. But besides that, I think I'm going to sit with the basic design that I have right now and then just try to improve upon that. As for the content of the channel, I'm not going to make any changes to, what you're generally seeing. So there's still going to be the same sorts of videos, but there's going to be a bit of a change on my side. So I want to start taking on some bigger projects. So one of the ones that I want to do is try out a new window manager, because I really do like BSPWM, but there's so many other awesome window managers out there like Awesome, Qtile, DWM, Xmonad, that I just haven't had the opportunity to actually properly try out yet, and I feel like would be a lot of fun to mess around with. And obviously there's going to be a lot of content there to work with. And maybe I'll try out a new distro. I don't know if it's going to be my main distro, or if I'm going to just go get a secondary hard drive, stick it on that, and then run it like that, or maybe do it in a VM. I don't really have any reason to get rid of Arch, but there are some cool distros that I might want to try out. And maybe I'll try out Emacs sometime soon. I don't know. I know people are telling me not to, and some people are telling me to do so. I might give it a shot and see what it's actually like. But once again, that is another massive, massive project. One of the big changes I made to the channel over this year was actually starting to note out my content considerably more than I was doing before. So typically, I'll have at least 100 lines in a Vim document and then go through that over the course of the video. It's not a script or anything, Generally, it's just like, okay, talk about this point, this point, this point. If it's something, more technical, maybe I'll go into more detail there, but generally, it's just there to stop me from actually rambling. Now, this rambling is planned rambling, but if you go back to some of my older content, you'll notice that I start to repeat myself way more than I probably should. Now, sometimes repeating yourself does make sense if you're trying to do it for impact, but I would just forget what I was saying earlier in the video. So by doing this, just keeps my thoughts way more in check. The problem though is this does start to mess with my presentation style. So even though it's not a script, I still feel like it comes off a bit stiffer than it really should. So one of the things I want to work on is a more natural presentation style. So if you go watch my streams, for example, I basically don't have any plans for those besides, okay, if it gets really boring, here are some topics to actually talk about. So I want to sort of shift more towards that sort of presentation style, but really the only way I can actually do that is by just making more and more videos and practicing and trying to get myself back to a nicer middle ground. I'm also not a big fan of my general presentation speed, so what I've noticed is that during a lot of information-heavy segments, I will speed up the way that I'm speaking, and the problem you have here is that if you have, say, English as a second language, I've noticed a lot of comments saying, hey, I really like your videos, and most of the time they're fine, but some points you speak a little bit too quickly for me, and I have to actually slow down the video to understand what you're actually saying. So I want to try to slow those down a bit and have more of a, constant speed across the videos. Now, I don't know how many people actually have noticed this, but it's something that I've definitely noticed, and there's a few people that have definitely pointed it out as well. But I don't want to go all the way back to the way that I used to present videos, because those were way too slow and had basically no emotion in them. So I kind of want to come to this nice middle ground where you can understand what I'm saying, but it's not like, oh, hey, guys, this is a video. It's not boring, basically, is the point I'm trying to get to. And the last thing for this channel is more of a back-end thing. So this is about the way that I'm actually planning out my videos. So I typically try to spend roughly an equal time on all of my videos, regardless of, what the actual topic is. But the problem you have here is that some videos just simply don't need that much time. So if I'm doing, say, a video like this, I can smash out the planning for this pretty quickly because it's something I've been thinking about for quite a while, and it's just more about what I'm doing rather than, okay, here are the technical details of some random application. So those researchy videos and the tutorial videos, those I feel like need a bit more time actually allocated to them, but I haven't actually been doing so. So I'm just going to mess around with how I'm actually allocating my time, and I probably should start actually doing something like time blocking so that I can actually, have a better structure for my day anyway. As for the podcast channel, the biggest change I want to make is the thumbnails. Now, they are way better than they used to be, but they still need a lot of work, because what I've noticed is there's nothing really eye-catching about those thumbnails. You look at them, they all look fairly similar, and they all look fairly boring as well, and I feel like this is the biggest thing actually holding that channel back. Now, I'm not entirely sure about how I'm going to design them, but I know that I want to do something that makes them stand out way more than they currently do. Now, as for guests, I know people keep asking about certain guests, and I can't make any promises about anyone who's going to show up, but there are some people I will reach out to. For example, there are some people who want me to get Mental Outlaw on the show, and I know that he's done a podcast with someone else, so maybe he'll come onto the show. Now, as for the Boomer, Luke Smith, until he gets a decent internet connection, I don't really think that's going to be able to happen, but if he wants to do it, I'll be more than happy to do so. I do have some fun episodes lined up, though, so both Kai Hendry and Tim Creef have said that up for doing the podcast. I'm not sure when they'll happen, probably sometime in January. And someone else I want to bring onto the show is Jeremy Kaufman, the CEO of Library. I haven't asked him yet, but we are following each other on Twitter, so I will DM him and see if he's up for doing it. Now, lastly is the gaming channel. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be restreaming very soon. I just haven't actually paid for Restream.io. It's just a matter of actually doing that and then just, actually setting up to work for my channel. So, I'm going to be streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Now, feel free to watch on whichever platform you prefer. I'm always going to keep doing it on YouTube just because it makes more sense to be on YouTube, because that's where all of the clips are going to be anyway. So, up until this point, I've done all of my gaming on Linux, and I'm probably going to keep that trend going forward unless something comes out next year that I really, really want to play. I might make an exception and go play some Genshin though, so maybe that'll happen. But besides that, I actually did buy a lot of games during the winter sale, so some of the things that I might end up playing next year, I'm not really sure when it's going to happen, because there's a lot of them. I've got the Tasmanian Tiger series, I've got the Portal series, Half-Life, the Crash and Spyro remakes, Halo, and also the new Doom. So all of those games I want to play on the gaming channel next year. I don't know when it's going to happen, because right now I still want to actually go and finish Bastion, and I'm probably going to keep playing Hades until Hades starts to bore me, and I don't know when that's going to happen because I really, really love that game. Also, a couple of mates, one of whom is a streamer as well, asked me to actually go and buy Borderlands, the pre-sequel, so I'm probably going to stream that whenever we decide to actually go and play that as well. And I guess once we finish that, we'll move on to Borderlands 3. Now, I did mention clips just before for the gaming channel, and those will be coming very soon, so it's not a matter of, hey, I've been too lazy to actually edit them. They're all edited and exported and thumbnails made and just sitting on my hard drive. It's just a matter of actually going and uploading them. But one of the problems I have with actually making clips is that I have no indication of where the interesting content actually happens. So what I'll probably do is make a little script that queries OBS for like how long I've been streaming for, or maybe I'll just, get the current time or something like that. And every time then I press a hotkey, it will actually go and save, that timestamp, so I can go back and actually check that point for something interesting that happened. Because right now, I just have 2 to 3 hours of content, and I sort of have to try and guess and remember where interesting stuff actually happened. I also might take some inspiration from other streamers and structure my streams in a way to make it easy to actually make YouTube videos. So if you go watch someone like, say, Ludwig, for example, when he wants to clip out a segment to become a YouTube video, he'll do his YouTube intro there and then have discussion topics that actually make it so you're effectively recording the YouTube video but with a live audience, and then you go and clip out the parts that are actually important. So I don't know how much effort I'll put into that, but I feel like doing that will make it much easier to actually have, constant clips actually coming out. And obviously should lead to the streams actually being more interesting as well. So over the next year, I'm going to keep trying to improve the content, and I hope you guys continue to keep enjoying it. But if at any point my content does start to sort of, degrade in quality, feel free to give me the kick at that point that I probably deserve, and hopefully that puts me back in line. So before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. So a special thank you to Chris, Joachim, Donald, Andre, Nathan, David, Montezar, Will, Chico Bento, Joseph, Mitchell, Peter D, Tony Tushar, and all of my $2 supporters. If you want to go support, I'll recommend links down below to my Patreon, Subscribestar, LibrePay, all of that sort of stuff. I've got my podcast, Tech Over Tea, available basically anywhere, and then this channel is available on Odyssey, Library, and BitChute if you want to watch on a platform that isn't YouTube. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.